Welcome. So, if you're here, you've landed on episode 1. This is a journey in my adoption. It's a journey for me finding out who my biological parents were. So, just a little bit of history. If you're into adoptions, if you were adopted, if you're looking for someone, this is your place. I'm going to walk you through it, step by step, how I did it. I don't know if it's all possible today. It may be easier today. I don't know. But, and I'm going to show you the documents that I've done. So if adoption's your thing, then you're here. There are going to be many episodes. This is episode 1, so you're at the right location. I was born in July 1968. I had always known that I was adopted. There was never a specific time that I remember my adoptive parents sitting me down and saying, you were adopted. It was just common knowledge. I think they're gone now. They're no longer with us. But that was the story that I knew all along. So that's where it all starts. We're going to get into some of the paperwork, and I'll show you some of that. But what prompted this was I was about 24 years old. I was in college, working my way through college. And I was working for a construction company, and I went to unload a bulldozer. And I flipped a ramp down, and I all of a sudden got this horrible chest pain. I thought I was having a heart attack at 20-something years old. It was right around the time, this is the early 90s, it was right around the time that there was a male figure skater that had died of a heart attack for no apparent reason. And I don't remember his name, but that made me think. Every time I've been to the doctor, if you're not adopted, you don't realize this. You go to the doctor, they ask first question, what's your history? Did your parents have this, that, the other? Hell, I don't know. You don't know. It never has been a big issue. My adoptive parents are still my parents to me. It takes more than giving birth to be a parent. I'm not taking away from my biological mother. She did the absolute right thing. No doubt. I've got a ton of respect for her. So there's no animosity towards anyone. It's just until you're in a position where you can't build your own family tree, I don't think you'll ever truly know what it feels like to be adopted or not know your story. As ridiculous as that sounds to some, I didn't know my story. So I had that incident. I approached my adoptive parents, who always said from the moment I can remember as a child that if you ever want to find your biological parents, we will help you. Everything's okay. So we had this big heart-to-heart. I went home one day. I was living, I think, there. I can't remember. I lived near them. I can't remember if I was actually out on my own working my way through college or not. But regardless, we sat down and we had this conversation. And the first thing out of my mouth was, this is what I would like to do. I would like to find my biological parents. But I will not do that if it hurts you in any way. Because you're my parents in my eyes. But I also want to know the story. I've always been that way. I want to know everything about the story. So they were, of course, like they had been all my life. And I was 20-something years old, 22, 24, something like that. So they agreed. No problem. No hurt, no pain. I made it. I was extra careful to make sure that I didn't inflict any pain other than just asking. I wanted to be respectful. So that starts the journey. Where do I begin? We'll get into those documents in just a second. Okay, so I don't know if you can actually see me, or hopefully you can see my screen. Where I started was not really knowing where to start. I'm missing some documents, but once I got to the point of, hey, it's okay. If you look for your parents, we'll help you. They didn't know any stories. My adoptive parents didn't know any stories. You hear things, you heard things through the doctors. Because how this all happens back then, how a lot of it happened, was not adoption agencies really. It was more of through doctors, through attorneys, things like that. So my adoptive mother couldn't have children. Her cousin was married to a doctor, general practitioner doctor. She mentioned to her cousin that we would like to adopt a child. The cousin says, I'll tell my husband and he'll notify the doctors in his practice. My biological mother was going to that same practice, a different doctor. That's how it all happened. 2 and 2, things got put together. You go down, you file a petition with the court, you get a lawyer, whatever. That's how it happened. So where do I go once I decide, hey, I want to find my natural biological mother? Well, the first thing I did was I went to the courthouse. You'll see my notes here. Bureau of Vital Statistics, divorce, marriage, county clerks. I didn't know anyone's name at this time. And I think actually this is an older note after I found out the names. But if you look here, I have my adoptive mother's first name and these case numbers. This was probably where I was looking up the paperwork that was filed for my adoption, knowing that it would all be redacted and I wouldn't get any of the information. But this is where I started. What do I do? Where do I go? That sort of thing. You can see I talked to someone here, Harris County Law Library, and I was inquiring, how do I get the courts to open up my records? I know the cause and case number, but it's all redacted. I know I want that information. So Bonnie here helped me. Most cities have some sort of law library. They have paralegal students or legal students in there that volunteer, that help you go through and process your own paperwork. That's basically what I did. I went to this law library, Congress and Fan in downtown Houston, on a Saturday and filled out. Here's a motion here that I filled out. I don't remember the exact number. In order of, looks like release here that I filled out. It was denied. I had to go to court, submit this motion in the order of release, which was denied because I didn't know the information. I'll show you some of that next. Let's get into that. But this is where I started. I don't have a clue. So let's get into that. Okay, so check it out. So we get the whole process. We want to find out my birth parents, my biological parents. I get permission from my adoptive parents, who was always giving it to me. I go to the law library and seek all the legal help I can get, free. I had no money. I go to the court and I do petition the court. I can't find that yet. Hopefully I'll find it later. But I petition the court. I get told, sorry, they told me we can appoint a representative to reach out to all the parties involved, and maybe we can do that. That wasn't good enough for me. That seemed like nothing more than a waste or a drag of time. And then what you have to remember when you're searching for someone is at any time, and you're going to find out later how I found my biological father, stories matter. If you're looking for someone, you got to be so careful not to shut the door. not to get the door shut on you. At any time, if I would have said to the court, yeah, that's great, go out and send a representative of the court to go ask everyone. All that had to happen was someone to say no and slam that door shut. Then where are you? So you cannot risk having that door slammed shut. So I'll tell you how I did it. And it involves some deception. I'm sure private eyes and everyone does it. So once I'm denied by the court, sorry, we can't do that. We can petition the people involved with a court-appointed representative. I said, no, thank you. So I knew I could always come back to that, right? Why accept it then without thinking? So I said, no, thank you. I left. And it really wasn't that smooth because I did tell the judge, you keep mentioning rights. You're mentioning everyone's rights. Not once have I heard you say anything about my rights. Nothing. That needs to change in our world today. This whole adoption thing that's sealed forever needs to change. Just my opinion. But I told her, you keep repeating rights, everyone's rights. You've yet to say a word about my rights. Where are my rights? Tell me, what are they? I have none. I'm the innocent party. No rights. You can see how it gets my temper up. But you're looking at a screen. So let's go there. She threatened to hold me in contempt. I shut my mouth and left. Went home. I contacted the hospital records division. I didn't know anyone's name. I told them my name, the day I was born. And I believe they had microfiche. If you don't know what that is, Google it. But she found it on the phone with me or called me back later. I can't remember what it was. And she said to me, I have to redact these. You were adopted. I said, yeah, I know. And I said, you are my only hope. If you can't help me, I'm lost. I just pleaded for mercy with her. And I even said, look, you pull the records, redact them, or not. You pull the records, I'll steal them off your desk. I'll come pick you up for lunch, steal them, straight from the hospital. That's how desperate I was. And she said, no, I'm going to send these to you. I think you'll be okay. And I said, please, you're my only hope. And she said, let me just send these to you. So I paid the fee. She sent the records. And you'll see on your screen, you'll see the first record. If you look right in there, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but the very first family name, that's whiteout. The old liquid, whatever they call it, actual liquid white. See how you can read through it, though, if you scrubbed it? But most of the stuff you couldn't read through. This was the very first record. And here, if you're wondering, I was called Davis Baby Male. We'll see later in this document here, but this was my actual hospital records. Normal newborn, thank God. I'm normal. But look, this is the same page. And you might be able to read through some of that. Davis Baby Male. And of course, I've redacted some of the information. But you see how even you looking at it can read through this. I could hold it up to the light and read through it. So what they did, what that one person did was made a difference in my life. And I'm not going to say the hospital. I'm not going to say any of that because even though this has been almost 40 years ago now, this was 1995-ish, 4, maybe. So here I am, the doctor, the hospital, me, father and the mother. That person there is Gary Leon Davis. Turns out, completely made up. I'd later find that through my birth mother, although I didn't know. We'll get into that as we go. Well, let me just say, I never thought my birth mother, my biological mother, was lying to me. I think she felt I did, but I know my own history. And at that time, I was a mere 25 years oldish, somewhere around there. And I couldn't tell you everyone I'd been with. I had been with people I didn't know their names, or I knew only their first name and had forgotten. So it's nothing I was proud of. I cast no judgment on her, none at all. But I just thought that this could be maybe my father. I mean, why would you put this on a birth certificate if it's not the case? But she says it wasn't. Her name was Patty, or is Patty. We still have a relationship, a good one. I care about her a lot. I respect her a lot. So none of what I say please don't take any of what I say as derogatory towards anyone. It's not meant that way. But these are my hospital records. And you can see left footprint, right footprint, and all that good stuff. And I had some of these. I have this in my mother had this, my adoptive mother. So we got some of the information, but what we did not get was the identifying information. But I got it from the hospital. So sometimes you're going to have to do whatever it takes to get that first step. Once that once you get the identifying information, it goes from there. So I think, there are 28 pages or so in here. There's nothing really that stands out other than normal hospital records. But the identifying information is what I actually needed. So I just wanted to provide this paperwork to show you, because this is going to be about a 10-part series, and I want to document completely, because I will have people, without knowing the entire story, what I got to at the end was so unbelievable, you're not going to believe it. I mean, it's unbelievable. And people question it naturally. Well, how did you do this? How did you figure that out? How do you know? Could be someone else. Could be. But when you see the pieces I put together 30 years earlier, you'll see why. It's absolutely ironclad 100%. But let's scroll through this. All this shows just that I'm a genius, I'm sure, or that I'm normal. Yeah, everything looks good. So those are my hospital records. That's what she sent me. I was able to get identifying information from these records, which was the most important thing to me. And then here you see some handwriting. I took her information, found out some marriage. You basically go to the courthouse. I took her information once I figured it out, and we're going to get to that next. That's going to come in video 2. I think it's long enough. Video 2. We're going to get into, once I got her name, what did I do with that? How did I track her down? And we'll get into that in part 2. Thanks for watching.